Let's head out west, Jake, as Lincoln Riley is saying USC finally has NIL figured out. Better late than never, I suppose. Saying, quote, NIL has taken some monster leaps in the last several months, which has been positive. It's just been gaining an understanding of what it is and how it's not important, it's imperative. You have to have it. Now, and the more full quotes, Jake, he was basically talking about how, yeah, look, we're in Los Angeles and we got a bunch of outside deals. But what we've realized, and this is really what I think he's getting at, is that what USC didn't have, or maybe they were taking for granted, is the donor support, the collective support. And what they've recognized is outside deals are great, but you don't have as much control over them, right? Yeah. When you're talking about collectives and you're talking about donors, it's kind of akin to a front office and a salary cap. You can with better clarity assign numbers to players to keep them happy. This guy needs this to stay here. This guy needs this to stay here, and it's an easier way to manage your roster.
Yeah, well, I find this interesting too because initially I said, wow, they got the NIL figured out, because you go get Caleb Williams, you go get Jordan Addison, right? Like those were two big pieces to start this thing off. Of course, you need the entire roster, but when you talk about alignment from the donors and the collectives, it takes time to rebrand. Like what he inherited at USC, they weren't cool. And what we think of USC at their best is we think of the Matt Leinart, we think of the Reggie Bush days where Snoop Dogg's hanging out on the sideline and Will Ferrell and all these celebrities and musicians are hanging out on a college sideline. It was cool back then. And then all of a sudden USC just kind of trends down. They kind of faded into the darkness for a while. Well, in comes Lincoln Riley, and now he's entering year 3. I think USC has got that cool factor back. And you combine that with the fact you're going into the Big Ten. National stage, national presence. We know he's going to have a sexy, explosive offense. You go out and bring in a new defensive coordinator that's going to allow them to be much improved. And then when you look at the NIL, I'm not worried about the offense, but they're able to flip some big-time talent, even from Georgia. So NIL is more than just getting the quarterback and the wide receiver. It's your entire roster. And I think we're hitting that stride, kind of to your point, where they've rebranded this a little bit. Now USC is going all in, understanding it's going to be tough to win in the Big Ten, but they're going all in, offense, defense, all 3 phases, and they need the alignment from their boosters to make that happen.
Well, and again, outside advertisers are going to look at guys like Jordan Ashton and Caleb Williams and say, okay, I want to do commercials with them. They're not going to say that about the offensive line.
Right.
That's where you have to have a collective that's going to say, okay, no, we need to commit these resources here. Because honestly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why Caleb Williams took such a step back. Like when USC was so good and Lincoln Riley, year number 1, I'll never forget, turn on the tape. The first game I watched, the defense, I was like, that looks like a high school front seven. They are light, they are bad. Yeah. And so I flip over to offense. I'm expecting to see the same thing. And I was like, oh no. Like those are big boys. That's a good offensive line. And sure enough, they ended up being great that year. What is your expectation, though? Because you mentioned USC being cool again. I don't know if I'm quite there yet. I mean, pre-cell phones, Matt Leinart would go to the club with Leonardo DiCaprio, right? You're coming off of a 7-6 year here. Questions surrounding Lincoln Riley. Is he actually that guy? Is he worth $10 million a year? Like, I think this is kind of a make or break year. But where do they slot in the hierarchy of the Big Ten?
It remains to be seen, but I'll tell you what I do know is watching their defense last year, I could not believe what I was seeing for what was at one point considered a national contender, a national title contender. That wasn't, I don't even know if I can call that defense, but to Lincoln Riley's credit, you go across town, you get D'Anton Lynn, who was a quality defensive coordinator for UCLA. Yeah. I know the value. I've lived it in my time at Michigan, the value of having excellent assistant coaches. Lincoln Riley will have the offense dialed in. We saw what Miller Moss did in the bowl game. The big key is the defense. And now they're starting to recruit better, and you get a mastermind to shore up some of the pre-snap, the gaps, the schemes, the details. And I'd imagine their defense is significantly improved. I don't know where. I still think Oregon and Ohio State, just roster-wise, are at the top. They're in a different category right now. But I'd say USC is a dangerous team just because when Lincoln Riley is your head coach, they'll put up points. And I expect the defense to be improved. How improved? remains to be seen. But you combine those two factors together, and I think they can get it done, T-Bob.